Welcome to DKR Sports. I'm Rubin Wright, and this is the weekly recap show of the sports news. In the NFL, the Bills beat the Patriots 16-0. It was a big game for Tyrod Taylor. Jacoby Brissett had a good game, but he struggled with some fumbling issues against the Bills' defense, fumbling one that put him basically on the 20-yard line and completely nullified a possession. The Patriots' defense did have some struggles against Tyrod Taylor. It was a very lack performance from the entire Patriots' defense, but we also got to remember that with the Patriots, they had Tom Brady out, and we'll look for new things to return from them, but Tom Brady is back next week, so it'll be interesting to see. But the Bills are now 2-2, and the Patriots fall to 3-1. The Patriots also suffer their first home loss since 1993, before they actually went to their new Gillette Stadium. Interesting things for the Patriots, but the era will come back with Tom Brady coming back this week in Week 4. Indianapolis lost to Jacksonville 30-27. Andrew Luck continues his string of bad performances. A lot of people as preseason MVP candidate, but now he's not doing very well. He's more or less a lackluster performance, and he maybe out of his own luck. Interesting pun on words there, but Andrew Luck definitely needs to step it up if the Colts want to improve their record, because right now they're 1-3, and it's looking like the playoffs might not even be a shot. And this is the first time that the Colts are 1-3 since they drafted Andrew Luck, and it's an interesting situation for them. But Jacksonville also falls to 1-3. Atlanta beat Carolina 48-33. Julio Jones had a record day, catching 12 receptions for 300 yards and 1 touchdown. Matt Ryan threw for over 500 yards, and he had 4 TDs. But Cam Newton during the game suffered a concussion late fourth quarter. They had to bring in Derek Anderson as his backup, Derek did do good, but Cam also had a great day. But Cam did throw for 2 interceptions, which Cam Newton's string of performances have been not been that good. In Week 1 he had a very interesting time against the Broncos, but last year in the Super Bowl they had some struggles, and their struggles continue on to this year. The Panthers now fall to 1-3, very lackluster performance, but the Falcons are now 3-1, which is a surprising thing considering the string of performances they've had in past years where they've struggled. Denver beat Tampa Bay 27-7. Trevor Siemian left the game right before the first half ended, which aroused Paxton Lynch to make his NFL debut. And Paxton Lynch, he impressed. The 26th pick for Denver in this previous draft, and thought to be by some the starter until Trevor Siemian appeared, former Northwestern product, a 7th round product. And Trevor Siemian's definitely shown different progress and different ability to quarterback the Denver Broncos, leading them basically to a 4-0 starting record. But Paxton Lynch comes in and cleans up the problems with Trevor Siemian going out, but they have had success, and the Broncos are doing very well, 4-0. But Tampa Bay, the team they played, falls to 1-3. Jameis Winston having a couple struggles after last year setting the rookie records in TD throws. But Tampa Bay definitely struggling, but they'll be on track. They have a young team, Mike Evans and Jameis Winston. So look for Tampa Bay. Maybe not this year, but they will be back next year. In college football, number 10 Washington beat number 7 Stanford, a real big upset. Washington, one of those dark horse candidates for the college football playoff, whereas Stanford, a team with Christian McCaffrey, we all thought that they were definitely a lock for the college football playoff, but McCaffrey struggles mightily against Washington, and they go down by a huge deficit and probably end Stanford's chance at the college football playoff. Number 22 Texas lost to Oklahoma State 49-31. Charlie Strong definitely in trouble, and this week he goes up against Oklahoma, and he needs that win to signify that he actually will keep the job at Texas. He's now in his 3rd year, and both his other 2 years were losing seasons, and the only reason he stayed last year because they beat Oklahoma in that rivalry matchup game at Norman, Oklahoma, in their home stadium. But he needs another one of those Oklahoma saving victories, which is going to be very hard with Baker Mayfield, a great candidate, quarterback candidate for Oklahoma, and it's going to be a tough one for Charlie Strong and the Texas defense and their offense with Tyron Swoops and Brunschell, their freshman quarterback. But Oklahoma State prevails. Mason Rudolph, a great quarterback at Oklahoma State, and if Oklahoma State doesn't lose to Central Michigan in that debacle where it was the mishap by the refs that gave Central Michigan an extra play with 0 seconds after an intentional grounding call, Oklahoma State would definitely be one of my candidates right now for the college football playoff because they're a great team. Mason Rudolph is one of the most excellent quarterbacks in the Big 12 right now, and you got to watch out for him when the NFL draft comes around. He's not eligible this year, but in the future he will be. North Carolina beat number 12 Florida State 37-35 in Tallahassee, Florida. Florida State with DeAndre Francois, a great true freshman quarterback, but they've had some mishaps. They did have that great comeback against Ole Miss, but North Carolina goes down to Tallahassee and they hand one to Florida State in front of their home crowd. Defense of Florida State struggled mightily against the North Carolina offense, but this definitely, Florida State's chances of college football playoff, they are done right here. They lose to Louisville early in the season to Lamar Jackson, and now they lose to North Carolina. That's 2 losses already. 2 losses nullify you out of the college football playoff. But they still do have a chance at if some things go right for them, they could possibly win the division. They only have one loss in the division against Louisville, but they still have to play Clemson. So and Clemson just beat Louisville. So it's going to take some miracles. Louisville would have to lose a couple games, but Florida State, they're still in chance to get to the ACC championship game. Number 4 Michigan beat number 8 Wisconsin 14-7. A big defensive battle game. Michigan under Jim Harbaugh's leadership and their quarterback Spates, fantastic coach Jim Harbaugh is in coaching quarterback Spates. Just you didn't even know where he came from, but Jim Harbaugh has turned Michigan completely around since the day of Rich Rodriguez. He's back to the Michigan pride of Lloyd Carr and Michael Hart, Chad Henning. Those are the days that they want to be back at, and they're back there. Great recruiting classes coming in and competing for that college football playoff spot. They got Jabril Peppers, a great prospect for the NFL and someone you got to watch out for. Possibly could be a Heisman Trophy candidate if Lamar Jackson falls off a little bit, Deshaun Watson falls off a little bit. He could be the next Charles Woodson. So it's an interesting thing. Watch out for Michigan, one of my dark horses from the college football playoff. Number 11, Tennessee beat number 25, Georgia, 34-31. Tennessee, one of those surprising teams. They almost lose to Appalachian State the first week, and all of a sudden, they've come back from victories and mishaps, beating great teams like Virginia Tech in that Bristol Motorsports Bowl, and now just beating Georgia, a team that's fallen on, hard times. Georgia getting destroyed by Ole Miss last week, and now just this week, they lose on a Hail Mary play to Tennessee. It's just a disaster for Georgia. And you have Kirby Smart, the former defensive coordinator at Alabama, now taking over Mark Rich's spot as the head coach, and he's trying to get it done, but you got to give him time for Georgia to be that competing with Alabama team. But the big game of the week for me was and for everyone was number 3 Louisville at number 5 Clemson. Louisville lost 42-36, and it was a heartbreaker for Lamar Jackson. His receiver didn't really fight for extra yards on one of the last 4th down play. They also had a false start on that exact play, the play before, to get them into a harder field position to get the first down. But if the receiver fights for more yards, gets that first down, 33 seconds, I believe, are left, and Lamar Jackson carries Louisville into the end zone, and they win. But do not lose faith in Lamar Jackson and Louisville. They have plenty of opportunity in the ACC to make it back to that college football playoff. And Clemson still has a tough road ahead, too. But both teams, either one of those, I guarantee you will be in the college football playoff. They will be out of the ACC, winning the ACC championship, and they'll be one of those 4 college football playoff teams, and you got to watch out for them because both of them explosive teams with great quarterbacks. And this game was one of the best quarterback matchups of basically our decade right now. I mean, we had Vince Young, Matt Leinart, which great game, but this one was another explosive one and maybe one of the most high-powered ones of all time. But let's look at the college football playoff, and really what I think it shapes up to be right now is we have Alabama, Ohio State, and I have Clemson, Michigan. I think Louisville could do it, but I think if they would have beat Clemson, they would be a lock. But it's really hard to vote against Clemson right now until they possibly lose, which I don't think they will. So I think it's going to be Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, Michigan. But I think Lamar Jackson will still win the Heisman Trophy. It's going to be a surprising thing. It's going to be like a Johnny Manziel thing where they're not in the national championship, but he'll win the Heisman Trophy. But on the college football playoff, if that's how it goes, I would have Alabama and probably Clemson in the national title game if it matched up like that, and those two, if they didn't match up in the first semifinal rounds. But I think Alabama, Clemson, having Alabama win it. Jalen Hurts, their quarterback, is a great true freshman quarterback, and you got to watch out for him. There was really some big shakeups in the rankings. Clemson went to number 3 after beating Louisville. Washington, after beating Stanford, went up to number 5, a big jump. Louisville only dropped to number 7. So if things go right for them, Clemson loses, college football playoff still possible. Miami jumped to number 10. Wisconsin went to number 11 after a loss to Michigan. Stanford went down to number 15 from number 7 after they lost to Washington. And Florida State drops all the way down to number 23 after losing to North Carolina at home. So let's move on to some MLB. The playoff wild card's now set, and what we got the AL wild card, and what it's setting up to be is the Orioles at the Blue Jays. You got to watch out for those Orioles. The Orioles are very good this season. And then the NL wild card is the Giants and the Mets going up. And the Mets, definitely a team you got to watch out for. I think the Mets, they got a strong chance to go back to the World Series. Definitely, you got to watch out for the Mets. But the Giants is also a good team. But this is just a wild card. You got Chicago still. You got other teams still. This is just a wild card. But they're definitely Mets are someone to watch out for in this wild card, as well as the Orioles, I would say. I think Orioles progress and Mets progress. But, that's my opinion. But in the NBA, the major news of the day, of the week, was that J.R. Smith's contract still not resolved. LeBron James still very unhappy with this. J.R. Smith is, a critical part to the Cavaliers, and if they don't get his contract resolved, it could really hurt the Cavaliers' chances at trying to get back to the championship game, possibly facing probably the Warriors. And if they don't have J.R. Smith, that eliminates a 3-point player who's a great bench player for them. And it could really hurt them. They already lost Mo Williams, so it's an interesting thing, but LeBron wants the contract resolved, so don't worry, it'll get resolved when LeBron wants it. But also for the Cavaliers, in other news, the Cavaliers signed point guard Tony Douglas, who will be replacing Mo Williams. Tony Douglas, a great veteran player, and he'll help contribute to hopefully get them back to that championship game, hopefully against the Warriors, because we know if it's a Warriors-Cavs matchup, that would be one of the most explosive and most memorable finals games of all time. You got Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Steph Curry, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson. That's a great matchup, and I'd love to see that. And I'm hoping for both of them. But in other news in NBA, Ben Simmons got injured in practice, injuring his right foot, and he won't be rushed back. This is an interesting thing for the Philadelphia 76ers. If you didn't know, Ben Simmons, the number 1 overall pick in 2016 draft, and Ben Simmons a critical part to the Philadelphia franchise going forward. They think he's going to be the next LeBron James, and that's what a lot of people tout him as. And without him, they need him to come back and produce for them and grow as a player. But this is an interesting trend for Philadelphia. Either they're drafting hurt players or their star players get hurt. You look at Nerlens Noel, someone who was hurt that when they drafted him didn't play for a whole season. Joel Embiid they drafted, hurt for multiple seasons, still looking to come to the court. They drafted him high, and now Ben Simmons. They didn't draft him hurt. Ben Simmons was completely fine, but he gets hurt in the actual institution. So, the thing is that Philadelphia does know how to handle with hurt players and hopefully bring them back into the lineup. But Philadelphia is a team you got to look out for, because when Ben Simmons actually comes back, Nerlens Noel, Jahlil Okafor, Ben Simmons, if they can get Joel Embiid on there. But I guarantee you they'll be trading one of those 3 centers, Noel, Okafor, or if Joel Embiid gets back, because 3 of them, they're all explosive players and all great potential youth prospects, but you can't have them all on the same team. You can only play, like 2 of them, maybe one at power forward, one at center. And my guess is they'll probably be either getting rid of Noel or Okafor, because Embiid, he doesn't really have that much of a high retention rate to get stuff back, because he's not really a proven person, hasn't even really played, and he's been injured for so long. But for the last thing to wrap it up, James Harden is officially the new point guard for the Houston Rockets. He changes from shooting guard, one of those dominant shooting guard players, and he moves now to point guard. And an interesting thing to watch out is can James Harden adapt the position? We know he can score, but James Harden a very suspect person on defense. And will he be able to actually, transition into his defensive role? And because he's got to guard people now like Steph Curry, Kyrie Irving, so he definitely needs to take a defensive role. But we know he can score. But it'll be interesting to see what Houston does with it, as well as D'Antonio, introduced a new high tempo offense to adjust and hopefully allow Houston to compete at a new level. But that's all today for DKR Sports. This was the weekly wrap-up show, and look forward to next week on Monday, where you'll see this week's actual recap with me, Rubin Wright. I'll catch you later.